Time is 11:45. Today's 27th, Friday, December 2013. Hello and aloha pa. My name is Abdu'l. Before I go to the main topics that it will be done tomorrow, probably a couple of videos I will have to speak about that. Something that the Baha'is have not come up with an answer yet that I have seen. I want to get into some of the details of the writing of the Bab and bring some samples. So that would elucidate some of the problem, and you get familiar, because it would be long time before we actually be able to translate these things in English. I have seen some of the translation of the English that has been done from the writing of the Bab. To me, that is not a correct, honest translation of the original text. Because if we start to translate the writing of the Bab the way it has been done by Adib Taherzadeh, then one cannot distinguish between the writing of the Bab and Baha'u'llah. They look very similar, which is not the case. There is a serious distinction between them in the matter of style, matter of talking. So to have a true translation of these things, it's a major task, in my opinion, to be done. We have not yet developed to the point that we could have this type of English to be understood. So, as I mentioned, Bab, His Holiness, spoke in many ways in a puzzling way, because to create puzzle and to speak in this manner would have been the sign of authority, sign of power, sign of knowledge. Simple speaking fact, people say, well, that's nothing. That was the mentality of the Iranian at that time. Often it is the case when the topic is very hard, subject is very hard, the people go so many ways around a topic that it seems they themselves get lost. Example, Mr. Nader Saidi and his book Gates to the Heart. The stuff that he has to explain actually is very simple, and about 10-15 pages, but he has elaborated in so many ways that the entire mission is lost. Now, I have solved two of these puzzles in the main book of the Bab called Bayan, and I'm going to bring that to you. Tonight I'm going to be talking about four of these puzzles, but the major one comes tomorrow, the one that no one knows. Actually, one of them I'll speak tonight too, but I've spoken about it before. In the book of Bayan, the main book of the Bab, which is, corresponding to the Aqdas, the book of Baha'u'llah, and the unit 14 of chapter 8, some people they call it unity 14. I don't know why they say unity. It is actually unit 14, chapter 8. I say it in Persian, and I have to try to bring a true and honest translation of this, of course using the guidelines of Shoghi Effendi. But I have to say it the way it is. So the Persian is like this. ملخص این بابون که از اونجایی که توحید در حرف زال منتهی الیه عروج اوست و سر آن این که عدد 7 اللهم که بر حروف رتبه ثالث توحید گذرد رتبه خامس ظاهر می گردد. I do not know of any Persian that can make sense of this. I've given it to a professor of the University of Tehran, Mr. Nikain, and he said, I had publications, I've published many books. This totally looks gibberish to me, he said. And I agree with him. Now, if we had to translate this in English, or try to do the best I can, it would look like this. The essence of this word is that, because of the fact that oneness of God in the letter of Zal, the letter of Zal in Persian, it sounds as th as we speak in English, they, the. So we go back again. The essence of this word is that, because of the fact that oneness, I put in a bracket, of God. He doesn't say of God. I just put the word of God to mean Tawheed. He's talking Tawheed, oneness. Within bracket of God, in the letter of Zal, is the climax of its ascendancy. And the secret of which is this, that if the digit 7 times Allahumma, within the bracket 7 times 106 equal to 740, meaning, oh my God, is subtracted from the third station of oneness, the fifth station would appear. Did you get it? This is the problem that scholars have with the writing of the Bab. And my God, there is couple thousands statesmen like that to be able to solve. So, I said the word Allahumma. Allahumma means oh my God in Arabic. But these words, they all have a mathematical value. I said the Bab is the one messenger of God that applied mathematics to the revelation of God. So when we say Allahumma, we have to say LLLHM, because there is a value. For A is in 1, L is 30, another L is another 30, H is 5, M is 40, Allahumma becomes 106. He says if you take 7 times Allahumma, which is 7 times 106, it will become what? 742. But the word Allahumma means oh my God. So if you take the actual alphabets of the letter oh my God in Arabic, which is Allahumma, and you add it and becomes 106, and you go add 7 times 106, you get 742. Now, if you subtract this from the third station of oneness, the fifth station will appear. So in order to know, we have to know what are the stations of oneness. We have to dig down to see what these things are and how are we coming to solve this. But I'm going to read one more time. The essence of this word is that, because of the fact that the oneness within bracket of God in the letter of Zal, one of the alphabet letter, is the climax of its ascendancy, and secret of which is this, that if the digit 7 times Allahumma is subtracted from the third station of oneness, the fifth station would appear. I will put that in front of your camera so you can see the Persian part is actually in the book, and you're looking my translation in English, and I'm going to have to bring 2 other quotations at the bottom in order to solve this puzzle. So, the Bayanis or Azalis, this Azal, he's called in Arabic, he claims that he is Samare. Samare means fruit. That Bab called him Samare, Hazrat Samare, His Holiness Samare, which means fruit. But we know he was really a fruitcake. This guy made a lot of horrendous mistakes that even a child doesn't do it. So they ask him, what do you think about this, sir? And in a Persian bayan that is published by these Azalis in Iran some long time ago. Don't worry about their numbers, not even 100 people. They published it. Somebody went there and published it. At the bottom of it, at the very end of the book, you can find an index. This question put to the Azal as, what is this? This is the answer. This is how is it written there. His Holiness Samare, which means fruit, and I've just added the cake to it, has answered, it is about manifestation. In these days does not coincide to the outward appearance. He says, in Persian I say, درباره ظهور است. در این ایام قابل تطبیق با ظاهر نیست. He couldn't find an answer. He just says that, oh, this is something with a reference to manifestation. Outwardly, we cannot understand it right now. We cannot coincide it to say what it means. This is his answer. Who's claiming to be in charge of the Baha'is. That was his affairs of the Baha'is, not the mindset and what they know, but he took it by wrong. Then, of course, he couldn't answer this. Now, in order to find the answer, we have to go back in the Bayan again, in the chapter, in the unit 8 of the chapter 11. The Bab says in this chapter, as far as the Muslim concerned, you've heard this a lot of times. They say, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. You've heard of that. Bab says actually, you can say this in 5 ways. A manifestation of God, he can come and says 5 different ways the same truth. He could say, there is no God but He. La ilaha illa huwa. There's no God but He. Or you can say, there is no God but I. La ilaha illa ana. There's no God but me. You can also say, as Muslims say, there is no God but Allah, or God. A 4th way, you can say, there is no God but you. La ilaha illa ant. La ilaha illa anta. And finally, on the 5th stage, you can say there is no God but who? Allazi. So instead of saying there is no God, so you can say 5 ways. There's no God but He, there's no God but I, there's no God but you, there's no God but Allah, and there's no God but who. 5 ways a manifestation of God can say. Or God can express Himself in the God spell of the manifestation in many ways. If God says there is no God but Allah, it's same as God says there is no God but I. So when Baha'u'llah says, I am God, it's not, it is God that he says he is God. But in the language, comes as if he says he is God. So, now we found out, and I've translated this, and I'm going to give you to Unit 8, Chapter 11. It says, the station of oneness being mentioned in 5 ways. There is no God but He, and there is no God but I, and there is no God but Allah, and there is no God but you or thou, and there is no God but who, which in Arabic is Allazi. So in Arabic, these 5 really pronoun, you can say, it's I, you, he, Allah, or who. 5 pronouns that could be used in God's expression about His existence. Now, originally, what he was saying, he says that if you take the word Allahumma, which is oh my God, times it 7, you get 742. Now, if you subtract it from the 3rd station, subtracted from third station of oneness, the fifth one comes out. The third station, as it says here, is the word Allah. That was the third station. The first one was He, the second one was I, the third one is Allah, the fourth one is you, and the fifth one is who. So the third one, which is Allah, if you say subtract it from 742, you will get the fifth station. Which is the fifth station is what? Who. So, it seems puzzling. This is Azal's problem. He thought, okay, 742 minus word Allah, which is ALLH66, the number that comes does not correspond to 741, which is the fifth stage, Allazi. A-L-Z-I becomes Allazi, 742. 741, Allazi. 7 times Allahumma becomes 742. But we got to get to 741, which is the fifth stage, out of this. If you subtract 742 from Allah, the word Allah, which is 66, we're not going to get 741. The trick is this here. In this case, you should not look at the word Allah mathematically, as in A-L-L-H, which is 66. But you have to look at its quantitative value, not its mathematical digital value. Quantitatively, God is one. Subtract it from 742, you get 741, which is equal to Allazi, which is the fifth stage. See how tricky it is? But then you're asking yourself, what is the use of this way of talking? Many people say, why? Why do you go through this length to say if you do this minus this, you get that? Then what? The reason is this. Very, very, very profound reason, my friends, behind it. Two things will get distinguished by this puzzle. We know Azal, who thinks he's the successor of the Bab, actually is not capable of succeeding him because he cannot understand him. Right there, stumbling block. So everyone knows that Azal is out the door. Very well then. Secondly, today it shows I am the elder of God. If not, bring somebody else that can fix this and solve it. Bring it over. As Baha'u'llah says in the tablet of Ahmad. Oh, assemblage of the false ones. Bring it over. Bring it on. See, if this is not left today, I would not be distinguished as an elder of Baha'u'llah that know these things. Of course, I'm not bragging. I have to tell you, if his aid is not involved, I am not able to solve it. Okay? Many times I can't. This one, I looked at it and I asked Baha'u'llah, okay, what am I supposed to do? You say I'm an elder. All of a sudden went in my mind, oh yeah, I should say Allah is one minus 742, 741. I should not think Allah as ALLH66 because that's where the Azal went and he couldn't find an answer. All of a sudden Bob changes here. He doesn't speak mathematically. The quantity he wants here the quantity of Allah, which is only one, to be subtracted from 742 and not the word Allah mathematically. You see? So this is the use of this. Now, this is one of them. There's another one, very huge. This one is a tough one. This one is in Unit 8, Chapter 17. I'm going to have to say it in Persian before I get to it in Arabic. بدان که بعد از آن که عدد ذهب و فضه به عدد کل حروف رسد با عشر غیبیه 6005 می شود که اگر سته را تنزل دهی به 6 می رسد و آن وقت اول حرف اشاره می شود که هو باشد. I'm going to have to bring it over to the camera to see what this is. So, translation. Now, know that after the number of the gold and silver, riches, to the number of all the letters, within bracket, all the 28 Arabic alphabets, with the hidden 10, sums up to be 6005, which if you reduce the digit 6, it will become 6. And at that time, it will become the first letter of the personal pronoun, which is hova, within bracket him. Did you get it? I'm sure you got it. Let me show the English to you one more time. Gold and fezeh, gold and silver, is that he says this is a reference to the alms and taxes and whatnot in the topic, but he says here gold and silver reaches to the number of all the letters, which are 28 letters in the Arabic alphabet, with the hidden 10. So whatever that number is, you have to add 10 to it. Then it will become 6005. The letter of the alphabet, they are A, B, T, S, J, H, H, D, Z, R, Z, S, Sh, Sat, Zat, Tain, Zain, Ain, Qain, Fe, Qaf, Kaf, Gaf, Lam, Mim, Nun, Wav, He, Ye. 28 of them. Every one of them have a numerical value. A is 1, B is 2, J is 3, D is 4, H is 5, V is 6, Z is 7, and goes on. So from 1 we get to 1000. He says if you get all these letters of the alphabet, you add it up, and you have to put a 10 on the top of it, he says. Then it becomes 6005. Okay, that's clear. Now it says, if you reduce the digit 6, it will become 6. What he wants us to do is, this is the point here. If you look at the digit 6005, he says the 6000, reduce it not to say 6000, just simply say 6. But he doesn't say if you reduce 6000 to 6. He doesn't say that. He says if you reduce 6 to 6. He uses the 6 in two ways, Arabic and Persian. He says if sette in Arabic is 6, reduce it to 6, shesh, which is Persian. Persian says shesh, Arabic says sette. So he says now this is 6005, which is the number of all the alphabet plus 10. If you reduce the 6000 to become 6, then it becomes 6 and 5, 65. Not as in 65, really as 6 and 5. What do you get? You get the first letter of the pronoun hova. Hova, which means he, is made actually out of H and W. H is 5. V that comes after is 6. So Hova is written HV. H is 5, V is 6. Here it says it will become the first letter of the personal pronoun. Actually, V is the second, is not the first. But he means first because there were 6 in the history that the H, which is 5, came in front of it. Who were the 6? The 6 was Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad. The God created heaven and earth in 6 days, or 6,000 days of ours, or 6 days of God. If you don't say 6,000, which is human, and simply say 6 days, because Quran always says day of God is equal to 1,000. So as in the Old Testament. I think in the New Testament. So in Quran, 1,000 is 1 day. So 6,005, you can say 6 days and 5. So the 6, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, 6 of them, which is 6,000. 5 is in front of it. Who's 5? 5 is the Bab. Why? Because B is 2, A is 1, B is 2, Bab becomes 5. So is the letter H. H itself is also 5. So he says if you look at the letter Hova, he is, you can see the 6 major prophets from Adam to Noah, to Abraham, to Moses, to Jesus, Muhammad, and I, the Bab. All of us came to say one word, to say he, Baha'u'llah. You see how amazing it is? He says the entire revelation of me, which is I am the H, I am the Bab, I am the 5. I stand in front of the 6 before me. Those 6 prophets plus me, which is H, creates a 6, a 5, and a 6 together becomes Hova, meaning he. He says all these religions of the past, including me, is nothing but to say one thing, that God will come on the 7 days. We're all saying from Adam to me, he. We're pointing towards him. My dear friend, Nader Saidi, Nader Ghali, is a spiritual guy, okay? He has not explained this too in his book, Gate to the Heart. And I shall not waste my time to go on to get to this kind of puzzles, because they are all of historical value and they have served their purposes. Done. Baha'u'llah is here now. What do we need those, puzzles? That's all to understand him. We know him now. It's like the story of the American. When Abdu'l was talking, the guy started to translate. And he says, hey, stop translating. You're interrupting him. I think Ahmad Sorab said, well, excuse me, you don't understand Persian. I have to translate it for you. American said, no, I don't need you to talk. I see him. What a wise word this American has said. That all of these things, even the truth is not in front of me. No, he's in front of me. I don't need a translator. Because this is not a truth that can be explained by word. It is something to see if you can. When you see, you don't need to talk. What a word he said that. He was inspired by God to say that. So we have Baha'u'llah here. Therefore, all of this writing of the Bab is of historical value. Don't try to dig down into these puzzles. As you can see, the expression is so hard to find, but when you find it, it's just a simple fact. You could just say that we're all here to say Baha'u'llah is coming. That's all it is, isn't it? But there's a couple of other puzzles that deals with real problem of the Baha'is right now. I'm going to read this from, I think, page 42. Which book was it? I took it. I think I took it from God Passes By of Shoghi Effendi. He says, in writing, Sheikh Ahmad Asai placed great emphasis, I don't have my things properly, on the Arabic letter Vav. And the Dawnbreaker state that this letter symbolizes for the Bab the end of a new cycle of divine revelation, and has since alluded to by Baha'u'llah in the Kitab Aqdas in such pages as the mystery of the great reversal and of the sovereign. The name for the letter Vav consists of 3 letters: Vav, Aleph, and Vav. Like, for example, in English you say W, well, you write a W, or you can actually write W, D-O-U-B-L-E, and whatever U, W. So the letter Vav, it is Vav, but when you want to write it as a word, then it has 2 V and 1 A in the center. The name for the letter Vav consists of 3 letters, Vav, Aleph, and Vav, which means V-A-V. According to the Abjad reckoning, the numerical value of each of these letters is 6, 1, and 6, respectively. Shoghi Effendi, in a letter written on his behalf to one of the believers in the East, provides an interpretation of these verses of Aqdas. He states that the upright Aleph refers to the advent of the Bab. The first letter, with its value of 6, which comes before the Aleph, is a symbol of the earlier dispensation and manifestations, which predate the Bab, while the third letter, which also has a numerical value of 6, stands for Baha'u'llah's supreme revelation, which was made manifest after the Aleph. My dear friend, pay very good attention. Shoghi Effendi says Baha'u'llah's revelation, not Baha'u'llah himself. So, we're dealing again with the V. The letter V adjusted into Hova by Bob. Now we're going to elaborate it. We're not going to look at it as a letter. We're going to look at it as a word in which there is a V, an A, and a V. Now we have 2 V and an Aleph in the center. As it states in the page 42, I took it from the internet, Baha'i.org library books. So the V stands again for 6 Prophet before the Bab, as Shoghi Effendi explains. After the V, which is from Adam to Muhammad 6, then we have A. A is Aleph. One pronunciation of the Aleph is also Alf. If you say Alf or Aleph, you write it exactly the same way, because the sounds are not a part of the alphabet. It's just a sign on the top. So, the vowels are not a part of the alphabet, few of them. So, Aleph, if you pronounce it as Alf, which means 1000, because in Arabic, Alf is 1000. So, after the V, we have 1000 years a space between the 2 V. V, and Aleph in between. The first V, 6 Prophet before, and between them there's 1000 years of a space, because exactly 1000 years after the 11th Imam death, ascension, Bab appears. But now we have another V to fulfill. Which one would that be? It apparently refers to the six prophets, six messengers, one of which is Baha'u'llah. The other five are not actually five independent messengers. They're not. Because Shoghi Effendi says it stands for Baha'u'llah's supreme revelation. So you gotta find out what these other five after Baha'u'llah are. To find his answer, we go to the writing of Baha'u'llah. I read it for you in the Arabic, and then I'm showing you the translation. أسألك يا إلهي بك وبهم وبهؤلاء الخمس بأن ترسل علينا روائح الغفران ليطهرنا عن العصيان. I entreat thee, O my Lord, to thyself and to them and to these five, to send down upon us the breath of forgiveness, to cleanse us from trespassing. This is my own translation based on Shoghi Effendi's word at the very bottom. Now Baha'u'llah speaks of a five here. When I sent my book, I wrote a poetry, 5 Masnavi, in 1993, and I called it the Masnavi of 5 Elders. Send it to the outside reader of Universal Laws of Justice, Dr. Ali Akbar Tabana in Georgia. He said, what is this 5 means? I told him I can answer you right now. But the reality is this: there are 5 elders in the Baha'i faith. They are similar to the prophets of God, but they are not officially a prophet. They do reveal. I'm going to bring you the book. Those 5 elders plus Baha'u'llah makes the 6. And this puzzle was brought by Sheikh Ahmad Ahsai, one of the representative or naib of the Bab himself. Sheikh Ahmad says that unless this vow is completed, the revelation of God is not yet fulfilled and finished. Thanks to God. Shoghi Effendi says, supreme revelation, not Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah doesn't stand for 6. Well, the gentleman that he tries very hard, this is Nader Saidi, a long time ago, in a book called Khushahay az Kharman Adab wa Hunar, bunches from the arts and literature or whatever, volume 4-5. He tried to explain this and he jumps all over as he does all the time, trying to bring him an answer. He finally can't, because this answer was not and is not in the Baha'i faith. Baha'u'llah says they asked me, but I didn't find them worthy to give them the answer, he says. Now we're going to dig down more about this fact. We read in the Some Answer Questions, page 28 and 29. This comes from the Bible. It says, and the 24 elders which sat before God on their seat fell upon their faces and worshipped God. Where is this? This is in Revelation 11, 16 and 17. Abdu'l is interpreting. Saying, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. Abdu'l explains. In each cycle the guardians and the holy souls have been 12. He uses the word guardians with S, plural. In each cycle here means each religion. In each cycle, the guardians and the holy souls have been 12. So Jacob had 12 sons. In the time of Moses, there were 12 heads of the chiefs of the tribes. In the time of Christ, there were 12 apostles. And in the time of Muhammad, there were 12 imams. But in this glorious manifestation, there are 24. Double the number. In this manifestation, exactly what Shoei says, in the revelation of Baha'u'llah. So in this manifestation, there are 24. Double the number of all others. For the greatness of this manifestation requires it. If there are not 24 elders in the Baha'i faith, the greatness of the Baha'i faith is gone. These holy souls are in the presence of God. These are holy souls in the presence of God, seated on their own thrones, meaning that they reign eternally. They are like prophets, but they don't say they are. Abdu'l continues. These 24 great persons, though they are seated on the thrones of everlasting rules, yet are worshipper of the appearance of the universal manifestation, which is Baha'u'llah. And they are humble and submissive, saying, We give thanks to thee, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come. There you go. Now, we want to find out what are these 24s. Answer comes from Shoei Effendi. There was a book called Light of Guidance. Because I've quoted this book so many times, I've seen the book has disappeared from the website of the Universal Laws of Justice. But there's another book that has this in it too. It's called Directives from the Guardian, writing the letters of Shoei Effendi to the Baha'is in India. There, it says in number 58 actually, page 63. Regarding the 4 and 20 elders, the master, which is Abdu'l Baha, in a tablet, stated that they were the Bab, the 18 letters of the living, and 5 others who would be known in the future. So far, we do not know who these 5 others are. Sometimes in 1957, before Shoei Effendi's ascension, he said that there are 5 guardians or elder. Abdu'l Baha calls them guardians and chosen ones, as opposed to the word elder in the Bible. And Shoei Effendi says those 420 elders are actually will come in future. So now we know that the puzzle of Sheikh Ahmad, he says the letter Vav, no, but the word Vav containing 2 V and 1 A in the middle has to be completed in order for the revelation of Promised One to be perfected and finished and completed. Which the first V is 6 prophet before. Between the V there is an Aleph or A equal to 1,000 years span, that is the Bab. But after Bab there has to be another V or 6 people. First of which is Baha'u'llah. 5 others are who? The elders. Why? Because they are seated on their own throne. They reign eternally. Why am I not known by the mankind? Why is it that the Baha'is, they don't see it? What other similar condition we could imagine where one would not be recognized? If he was among 6 billion dead souls, they wouldn't recognize him. He would be alone. 6 billion animals, sheep, dogs, cats, they wouldn't, I guess, recognize him either. Why am I not recognized by the Baha'is? That is not so much for me. It just says that I am so big that people can't see me. Or I am not so big. People are so down and low. They're gone beyond being low. They're so low that they're not capable of knowing who is their friend, who is their foe. I don't see it. They think I'm an enemy of the Baha'i faith. Very well. These puzzles is very important because these word fives have been repeated few times in the writing of the Bab as well. In Bayan, in Qayyum al-Asma, he talks about 5 hidden ones, he says. I'm going to say one more things, and then this would be the last puzzle. It's also important, is of value. And then I will continue tomorrow to bring up the rest. Actually, I'm not going to talk about that tonight because it automatically is a part of the tomorrow's discussion. And tomorrow's discussion, believe it or not, is going to take us to America. Something I'm going to say that the Baha'is are going to jump to their ceilings right from the floor. Very amazing thing had happened in America. Very well, time is 12:32 and I do not need to extend this topic more than this. I just brought a brief little bit of you to see how Bab speaks. One of the aspects that I told you last night about the outlook, you know, a nutshell, which was talk about puzzles too. This is part of it. Allahu Akbar.